I believe we are good to go, Doc. Okay, so for everybody that's watching, we're going to give you a couple minutes to kind of catch up as we kind of intro what our interview and our topic of conversation is here today. So today, I'm going to introduce Dr. Tabor in a different way. So I'm going to ask him some questions and kind of go through the process of how he's come to a place of developing massive traction in his life and some of the accomplishments that he's on. But within the freedom formula, so within the freedom formula that we teach at Men of Iron, ultimately we help docs who feel they've lost that fire, that traction in their life, and we turn it back on through high performance habits and tools. Now, when we talk about fire, and Doc, we were talking about this just before we got on, fire ultimately is figuring out that mission that is inside of each of us, and there is one, but you mix that with passion and you get rocket fuel. Then to keep traction, to keep us from drifting off the mission, most of us at some point in time end up drifting off into the abyss, kind of floating in the ocean. It takes a level of consistency and perseverance that many of us just don't have the tenacity to kind of get to. So Dr. Tabor, one of the first things I want to ask you before we get into like all your different accomplishments, from doing dinners with the doc, to rocking your practice, to developing the spinal hygiene movement, to developing this movie that we're going to talk a little bit about today. What I want to know is, and I think that I want you to share with our audience, is tell us a little bit about your personal story, the trials, the tribulations, the bumps, the hiccups, the spikes, the good things, the bad things. Where did this all come from? Just tell us a little bit about your story, brother.
Sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate this opportunity to share. And like we were talking about a little bit earlier before we started here, it sounds like this is going to be a little bit deeper, a little bit different interview than I have been doing, because I could tell you the quick story behind it where, my family suffered from different health issues growing up. I had severe back pain. My mom passed away at a really young age, taking a lot of medications. And I stumbled upon chiropractic, saved my life, literally. I truly believe that. And I was able to get off pain meds, get off anti-inflammatories, muscle relaxers, and able to get my life back on track and do things I never would have done if it wasn't for chiropractic. So that's really the quick story that I tell a lot. But, I feel
there's
like
more depth to it, dude.
There's way more depth to that. In fact, what I visualize like in my head in this story is kind of like a pinball machine. Like the story I just told you was like straight. That's like 20 years of like, okay, now we're here today. But what really the realistic, aspect of that story is like there were times where I was just bouncing right off of those pinball machines. And I can start even all the way back when I went to chiropractic school thinking chiropractic was great for back pain. Like it helped me get off pain meds. And then, in chiropractic school, I realized, wow, the nervous system's the master system of the body. Maybe this does help, more than just back pain. Maybe I could be somebody that changes the world, and kind of got fired up a little bit. And then I went and I worked for about 6 months in this PI office, and like, oh my God, this is not what I thought it was. This is not fun.
You died a little bit on the inside, didn't you?
Yeah, I hit that pinball thing, and it just sent me back into the gutter. And honestly, Dr. Ryan, so I don't even share this with many people, but at that point, I got really sick of just doing what I was doing there, and thought, I'm going to go to nurse practitioner school. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and go back through nursing or something and do something different. And I had a friend who was working in Amarillo, Texas for one of the largest chiropractic offices in the state of Texas, ran by Dr. Shane Hand, who was in WLP at the time, which was CJ Mertz's company, right? Extremely philosophical, just amazing management group. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to assign a year contract, work as an associate in this office, and just get ready to go to get, somewhere else. And oh my gosh, it changed my life in that practice. Like we saw about 1,400 visits a week in through there. We didn't do anything but adjustments. So, I mean, we sent them home with home exercises, but there was nothing else done in that office except for adjustments. But and not that there's anything wrong with doing other things. I'm just saying that allowed me to see the power of an adjustment. Like, people were getting well. It was amazing. Like, we would have this in the WLP process. People would come through and they would get 3 times a week for 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, we would sit down in a group report with them. And I remember Dr. Hand would point at them and be like, what did you experience in your 3 months of care? And like one by one, they would sit there and go, I'm not having this. I'm over this. You know, we got pregnant. I did all that. And not 100%, not 100 out of 100, but like 97 out of 100. You know what I mean? Like almost everyone. And I sat there with a notepad every day for a year going, if I could get 97 out of 100 people well, just with a chiropractic adjustment, why am I going to go to any other school? Like, this is crazy. I got the goosebumps just now, like telling you about it, because it was a pivotal moment for me. And I think Dr. Han, he'll always be a mentor of mine for putting me back on that road. That pinball, I got sent back to the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at that point, I've always been kind of an entrepreneur and wanted to start my own business. And I thought, wow, I'm going to build a chiropractic office. And so, my wife was a chiropractor also. We met in chiropractic school. So we moved back to Houston, Texas, where her family's from. And we started, you know, real inexpensive. I rented a room from another chiropractor, and we started off. And we kind of had, I had learned how to do a dinner from Dr. Hand, right? So we kind of had a couple events. We did some dinner with the docs, and we were kind of getting going. We had saved up 10,000, didn't borrow any money, got started with that 10,000, and I had built that up in my bank account to like 20. I don't even remember what it was, between $20,000-$30,000 or something. And that was back in the time where we were just using digital, like, credit card machines and like computers and stuff like that. And someone hacked our computer and took every dime I had. Every single dime we had worked so hard for. My wife's bawling, crying. I'm thinking, what are we going to do? Like, it was FDIC insured, but we weren't going to get that money back for another year or a year and a half. Like, so it was just gone. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to pay the rent. I don't know how I'm going to keep the doors open. And I actually got a sub job on the weekends in Corpus Christi, driving 4 hours on the weekend to work for 2 days on Saturday. And I don't know if we worked on Sunday or not, but I think I was just to keep the, right. So I would make, I think it was like $500 or something for working that Friday and Saturday and 4-hour drive. And the doc would put me up in a hotel while I was there. And then I would drive back Sunday and then go to work all of Monday through Thursday again, and then drive another 4 hours, like every week, just to make the rent. And I was like, here was my mindset was, okay, I'm just going to do everything I can to stay open and not go bankrupt. And if I fail, I'll try to get an associate job, but I'm not going to fail thinking I didn't give it all I got. You know what I mean? Yeah. And guess what? Like, we came through that. Like, it was absolutely amazing. We built it back up. So it, you know, that pinball again slung me back over here. And it's been like that for a long time, back and forth. And anybody who's been in practice knows, like, it's no straight shot. You don't just start a practice and then explode. Like, you keep having these hard days, and then great days, and then rough days, and then no one signs up for your report, and then everyone signs up on your report. And so it's hard sometimes to keep that fire, like you had mentioned before, burning, and that passion burning. And let me tell you one kind of I don't know if you call it a secret or a tip or a strategy, but one thing that really, really helped me to keep that fire ignited over the last 12 years that I've been practicing. And so I was out of practice for a couple of years, and we were doing all right. I would do spinal screenings and things that would kind of keep us. We had just built our bank account back a little bit from that damaging theft there. But I was struggling. That the ember was there, but it wasn't burning very hard, right? And I started looking at all of my friends that had graduated from chiropractic school. Some of them started a chiropractic practice right out of school, and some of them failed, right, within a year or two. But there were a handful. There were like 2 or 3 that were doing amazing. Like, I mean, they were just killing it, like 500 visits a week and like, or more than that. And like, just success. That's what I would, you know, just, I could see it. They were enjoying it. They were doing great things. So what I did was I went and visited them. And that was actually when I met Dr. Chris Zano as well. And he was doing amazing in his practice. And every single one of them, I noticed the difference from the friends of mine that failed versus the friends of mine who were doing successful where they were putting these audios like BJ Palmer, Green Book stuff, like, Sigafoos, like they were like, look, I know it's not like super
They
fun
were
listening.
still feeding.
Yes, they were like, I know it's not super fun, but like it builds this strength, this philosophy, and this confidence in what you're doing. And some of them wasn't even old school stuff. Like some of them was just new, like people who, that just leaders in our profession, but they were always like digesting this information, and it was kind of keeping them on fire and keeping them confident. And so I thought, what I'm going to do is just brainwash myself, like on purpose. I'm going to brainwash myself. And so I bought I got every audio I could from them. I looked online. I found the Sigafoos, I think it's sigafoos.com or something. I bought all that stuff. And I would just like, every second I got, put my earbuds in and just listen to that over. I would fall asleep listening to that, hoping it would get in my subconscious. You know what I mean? And I think it did. It may not have been like something that just I listened to one audio and it just blew up, but it created a confidence there that needed to be there that I feel like would have died out if I hadn't. And now I even do today still try to listen to some of those audios, but I needed it bad back then, and I could tell I needed it. And so for young docs or docs who may be kind of mentally struggling, because I've been there, it happens. It's not uncommon. Don't feel like you're alone or that you're not supposed to be a chiropractor, but like try that, brainwash yourself. I know that sounds bad, but we're being brainwashed every day, and we can talk about the movie.
It's literally telling yourself the stories that your brain needs to hear.
It is.
Totally get it. Now, when you were doing all this and you were building your practice, but as you're going through practice, something else switched in you, because all of a sudden just doing your practice wasn't enough. All of a sudden there was a deeper mission. This is the mission that we talk about. We talk about like there's helping people get healthy, which you had a purpose and a passion to do since you were young. You knew that was inside of you. You figured out the direction you're going to lead it, but then something else happened, because like the movements that you're pushing forwards don't come from superficial reasons. But
no, in fact, I think there's like I've always been on kind of a mission for like absolute truth. You know what I mean? Like in chiropractic, we kind of have to be salesmen. We have to be marketers. We have to build a business, but you take all of that out of it. Like take the word chiropractic out, take all the sales out. There's still an absolute truth there. That's the reason why what we do works and what we're founded on, right? And I realized that back when I was a teenager, that quick story that I told earlier, where I literally was in debilitating pain and was taking medications just to cover up that pain, thinking I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life, right? Chiropractic changed my life, got me through that, and I realized that it's not just the chiropractic adjustment. Even though I'm going to get that every day, like I need to keep my spine and nervous system healthy. Like I need to keep my body healthy, strong. I don't ever want that to come back, right? And so that little piece of me actually taking care of my own spine, my own body, thinking I never want to go experience that again. I try to put myself in my patient's shoes, and a lot of them feel the exact same way. Like once they get out of those symptoms and they feel better and strong, like they never want to be there again. And so it's my job to kind of explain to them, like, I'm here to help you. Just like a dentist is here. If you need to go regularly, you go for checkups, you go for cleanings, but it's your responsibility to take care of your teeth, to brush your teeth, to floss. Like, and I'm sorry, but chiropractors have done a poor job of sharing that concept, which now we call spinal hygiene, which hopefully we can change, and we can implement an awareness that if you do not take care of that spine and nervous system, if you don't do something for it, it will degenerate over time. We're seeing that more.
You will get cavities, and it will be beyond your regular spinal hygiene appointment with your chiropractor.
Exactly. And that truth is something that I always can fall back on, whether it's, whether your C5 is rotated left slightly or not, that's one thing, but I know for a fact there should be alignment, motion, and strength around that spine. And if you're lacking in those areas, you need help with that. And I want to show you how to correct that. Like that's an ultimate truth for me.
Yeah. I mean, and ultimately, let's be honest, with spinal degeneration, there's compression, there's misalignment, there's loss of postural structural integrity. And when those things aren't being upheld, those things can't just be upheld necessarily just by the adjustment. There is so much
Correct.
going on with our bodies, and
Right.
I could not agree with you more that we need to be able to teach and encourage the brushing of the teeth on
Yeah.
top of their regular maintenance.
Yeah, I feel
couldn't
like
agree more.
sorry, I feel like in chiropractic, like if dentistry did what a lot of chiropractors do, they'd be like, just come back every 6 months for a cleaning and don't worry about brushing or flossing, or just come back every month for a cleaning and don't worry about brushing and flossing. Like, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work.
You and I are on the same page with that. I absolutely agree, and spinal health is something that is, in my opinion, more important than dental or oral health, and I think that in general we do a shitty job at teaching people the importance of the ongoing responsibility of seeing your chiropractor, and also what can I do on a daily basis. And I think you nailed it, brother.
And families, like, I tell people, I have 3 little boys. I took them to the dentist shortly after they got teeth in their mouth, every single one of them. Not because I was afraid they had a cavity, not because they were complaining of a toothache, simply because I want them to grow up with great dental health. Like, because dentistry's done a good job of building an awareness that every parent wants their kid to grow up with great dental health. We have not built that awareness yet for families, for parents. Like, it's the reason why they don't take their kids to the chiropractor to get their spine checked, because if they knew, they would want their kid to grow up with great spinal health as well.
That's it.
So, yeah.
Now, so you've developed an amazing practice. You've gone through the trials and tribulations of going from nothing to something, to having it taken away, to grinding it back up, to being able to have the tenacity to keep pushing forwards, to develop a movement that I really feel that more healthcare needs to take an active stance from reactive to proactive. And now you shifted that even one step further. So let's talk a little bit about this movie that you have constructed. Where are tell us about the movie, man. It tells a story in and of its own, but like, where and why, man?
First of all, I'm just blessed to be a part of it. Like, I don't feel like I constructed it. In fact, let me dive in, since we're being real. I'll show you where it actually came from. So I had this passion about spinal hygiene, and that there's more prevalence of spinal degeneration in today's society at younger ages than ever before. And I feel like we need to bring that to light, right? Because that is what I call the silent epidemic that's really, really damaging our health in our country. And as you can tell, I feel strongly about that. And so, I try to share that in every dinner workshop I do every month. I try to share that in every Facebook Live I do that on my page, right? And we're working hard to reach, 100 people, 1,000 people, whatever it is in our community. And this is where the movie is, and I don't mean to get too spiritual on you, but like, I truly believe it's a God thing, and it was created, and he had his hand in it the entire time.
There's no coincidence, like I said.
I just tried to help, right? Yes. So we're teaching that, and one of the co-producer, actually the director of the movie, was a patient of mine who owns one of the largest videography companies in the state of Texas. They've worked on several small films, and they were working on they wanted to actually produce, and I didn't know this, but they wanted to produce a feature-length documentary that had a chance to get to Netflix. Well, he's coming in, he's getting adjusted, and we were talking about my website. And I said, sure, I'm looking for somebody to help us with the website. So we schedule an appointment, and I go in, and I'm sitting down with one of his employees. We're talking about the way I want to line my website out. And I hear they're having a meeting about a documentary, right? And they've interviewed several people for a documentary. One of them was they were thinking about doing it on nutrition. And as I walked by, I said, hey, do you got 10 minutes? Let me pitch you guys something. And they were kind of like, whoa, sure. So I showed them that spinal degeneration was at epidemic proportions, that people were suffering, that the spinal nervous system was really the most common thing that sick and suffering people have in common is damage to their spinal nervous system, and that nobody knows about this. I think it would be a great documentary. And so it began as a documentary on spinal degeneration. And so that's what I really wanted to tell that story. But every time we kept interviewing these experts that we lined up and we told them it was about spinal degeneration, it kept going back to like, look, we have a huge problem in our healthcare system that people are being conditioned to believe you need a pill, you need a quick fix to cover up a symptom. And that's why we're not really getting to the root cause of any problem, right? And so that focus, again, a God thing, he said, I need you to tell this story. Yes, we need to get to that ultimate goal of giving people an awareness that they should take care of their spine. But you gotta show people that they're being blinded and that they're being conditioned or brainwashed or whatever you want to call it. And just, I won't go into every detail about our healthcare system, but if you look at big pharmaceutical corporations and you look at the entities that they have influence and they have their hands in, you begin, it's like taking the red pill or the blue pill. Like you begin to see, oh my goodness, this is why we make the choices we do in our health. Big Pharma, they are the number one contributor donations every year in lobbying to political campaigns. They have their hands in, a lot of the CEOs of big pharmaceutical companies run the FDA, the CDC, the governing bodies that are supposed to regulate that system. They influence curriculum in medical schools. They actually own most of the scientific journals. So where we think science is supposed to direct where these choices come from, they get to decide what scientific journals get published. They are the number one campaign or the number one income producers for free press, for Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, so they could determine what you hear on the news.
The business is in keeping us sick. I mean, that's what it is.
You're right. I mean, and whether it's intentional that they do that or it's just happening, it's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, needless to say, you guys have put together this entity, and now, I mean, in my opinion, because it's just the circles that we travel in, I don't think this is new knowledge. But when you start recognizing that so many of us are still blinded, and now the whole COVID thing and everything else that's coming out right now, you start to recognize how little people really understand about healthcare and the blinders. So the joke of this, we're already doing this, and now we're being muted. It's pretty fascinating. So tell the audience a little bit about where I'm hearing about this movie that you're talking about. Where do I find it, Doc?
So thank you for that that question. So if you go to www.abetterwayfilm.com, you can actually get a free virtual ticket to watch the movie free on July 2nd. That evening, 7 p.m. Central, we'll be live streaming the movie on that website, abetterwayfilm.com, and you can opt in there. Now, I will tell healthcare practitioners, we're doing a special screening on Saturday, June 13th, just for healthcare practitioners. If you go to abetterwayfilm.com/Cairo, that live stream will start at 6:30 p.m. 1 week from today.
Central time.
Correct, Central time.
So practitioners, June 13th. The public is July 2nd at 7 p.m. Central time.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, Doc, listen. I'm inspired by your fire, by your perseverance and your traction, and ultimately the results that you're getting in a mission that I'm extremely aligned with. Appreciate having you on, and like I said, inspired by your work. And everybody that has the opportunity to sign up and register for this film, please go ahead and do so. I'll put it in. I'll put it again in the link below of what it is that we're doing right now, and I'll get this out on the podcast, and we'll share this as well. Doc, again.
Well, thank you. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Ryan, for not only the opportunity to share this, but for doing what you do. We need every chiropractor out there, and I have been there. You have been there. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you lose a little bit of the fire. It's not. It doesn't mean that it won't be, you won't ignite that again. In fact, great ways to do that are watching films like this one. And so if you're a young doc, or if you're, if you've been practicing for a long time and you're struggling a little bit to get that fire, that passion back where it needs to be, watch this film. I actually talked to a chiropractor after we did one showing on May 25th, and after he's in his 70s, and after watching it, he told me literally, Dr. Tabor, you fired me back up. I'm ready to go again. And so I promise you, just watch this film and let it do, let it share the message with you, and then you share the message with the rest of the world.
Awesome. Doc, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.